understanding Communist Party is so critical. It's so critical. And we depend on China for our manufacture. And this is a world that's made very small by internet, by traveling, and by all the convenient so-called modern method. We are living in a very small space now. If we don't pay attention, we might lose everything. We might lose everything. Now it's the health, like national security, every aspect. We depend on each other. So if we don't understand Communist Party and the China situation, we will have more like crisis time.
Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our coverage on the coronavirus. And we have here with us today Dr. Dana Cheng. She's the senior editor of China News for our China section at the Epoch Times. And so she has some great information for us about what's happening in China with this virus. So Dana, it's a real pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And so, Dana, we've heard a few things recently. Maybe you can give us some perspectives on it. One of the biggest things we've heard is that the Chinese Communist Party right now is saying that the virus has basically stopped in China. Mm-hmm. They're opening the city up. What's really happening?
Chinese government, I should say CCP, Chinese Communist Party, is facing a great crisis. First is the economic crisis. So if it continues to, the country continue to get closed down, in 1 month, within 1 month, 1/3 of the business will go out. Another month, the second 1/3 will go out. So the small and medium business, they cannot sustain. They are eager to get everyone back to work. It's almost like everything is centrally controlled and it's like a campaign. When the central government send the message, we need to get people back to work, automatically different area, the government official have to lower the number of cases, either confirmed cases or death cases. Actually, there are internal directives. If there's an area that more cases pop up, the local official will be removed. So effectively, the local official will have to cover those numbers.
And so the local officials are pressured into not reporting the actual numbers because they'll lose their jobs. They'll lose the iron rice bowl, as they call it. Yeah.
So the number actually listen to political decision. And another example is in Wuhan. When Xi Jinping visited Wuhan, they closed temporary hospitals, isolation centers, to celebrate, we got everything in control. But actually, those who are released and sent back home, they are not in serious condition, they still carry virus. So we don't know what's going to happen next stage.
Yeah, well, I know that was something I've been thinking of, is if they took all the patients who still had the virus, and we've had videos coming out of China showing people, saying that I'm sick, my family member's sick, and they can't get treatment right now, not in China. That these people are being sent home, they still have the virus. Is there a risk of a second wave, or did it never go away in the first place? Where are things at?
So CCP is still trying to control that. When they closed down the temporary isolation center in Wuhan, secretly they are building a bigger isolation center at the suburb of Wuhan. They just want to cover it up so it's not in front of people's eyes.
And so they've also at the same time launched this big disinformation campaign against the West. And they're saying, we dealt with the virus. There's no more virus in China. Everybody should replicate our model. These types of things.
Okay, I'll say there are two aspects of that. Okay. One is in their media, in their propaganda, they keep saying that only we, Chinese Communist Party can control it. Our model is the best. And they encourage people to go back, actually. And they say China is the safest place right now.
You mean so like students in the U.S., they're encouraging them to go back to China, is that what you're saying?
They get parents in China so worried, they want their children who are studying in Europe and US and Canada to go back to China to stay away from the virus. At the beginning they say, oh, it's a free medical service. When those international students went back, they immediately isolate them and then report, okay, this is 1 case, 2 cases, 3 cases, so many cases imported from outside. They are actually preparing for the next campaign. If there's any outbreak, it's because it's imported.
I see.
They're preparing.
So this gives them a way of saying that, yes, there's a second outbreak, but it's only because of the poor handling of other countries.
Exactly.
Not of us.
Yes, yes. And they know it's not really under control. We have heard like different areas, they open the street, then they close it down again. And people try to seek help in hospital or sent back, no matter it's cancer, heart attack, or virus. So there are a lot of people still, cannot get help in China. One important indication is there's an important meeting, high-level government official meeting. We call it the Liang Hui. It's the Congress meeting and the political consultative conference. These are important meetings every year in March, and now it's not happening. So if it's totally under control, and those high-level officials should not be afraid to have a meeting, right? So it's not happening in March right now. So that's an important indication.
Yeah, I had similar analysis that the Chinese Communist Party was coming out and saying it's safe to go back to work. Mm-hmm. It's now safe for everyone to go back to work, but they still delayed the party Congress. And so if it's okay for everyone to go back to work, why are the government officials, for the first time ever, not holding their annual largest conference? If it's safe for everybody else, why is it not safe for them?
Yeah. And it's very important they have this anti-America campaign, because politically it's in its crisis.
Yeah. Well, this is actually an important point, and we can go deeper into this. Because I was thinking, for the Chinese Communist Party, the way they perceive the ideological battle in the world is between the China model and the U.S. model. And if they're telling their citizens right now that the Chinese Communist Party handled this better than any other country, they're saying that the Chinese Communist Party is totalitarian, locking down every city, going door to door, checking people, locking people down. They're saying that's the best model, and they're criticizing the Western model. If the U.S. model proves to be more effective, and if we don't resort to those things, this is going to be a huge blow against the Chinese Communist Party, and I think they're aware of that. I mean, what's your analysis on this?
Yes. First of all, they need that for their internal campaign. They need Chinese people to believe in them. Whenever there's a crisis, they have to find an outside target. There's a Chinese saying, when you have a big problem, blame America. When you have a small problem, blame Japan. And each time it's like that. And they have to have an outside target to distract people's attention, because people question them. Why you didn't control the virus at the initial stage? Why you still shut down people's voice? Just a few days ago, the first doctor that told other doctors there's a virus going on, the interview was still shut down. The interview posted on the website was totally removed. So it's not like Li Wenliang thing will be a lesson. They will never change. They're still shutting down doctors' voice. So we don't know the truth from China. The numbers way underreported, and that we know.
Do we have any current estimates on what the real numbers are in China? Or Have we not been able to confirm it? I know early on we did confirm at least 10,000 dead in Wuhan, if I remember right.
From our conversation with the funeral home and cremation center staff, only 7% get officially reported, counted the number. There are many people who could not have a chance to get tested and died before they ever had a chance. At least in February, 2/3 of people died in their home. They never get counted as the official number. So right now, if they are deaths, it can be marked as a different cause for that death.
Well, and especially too, if they can't even get normal hospital treatment right now for things like heart attacks. You have to think of how many people are dying just because of the poor handling itself.
Well, actually, at the beginning of February, we have heard from the factory they have an urgent task. They need to manufacture the funeral body bag, and the order is 1 million.
1 million body bags?
Yes.
Oof. And that was in February?
Yes.
Jeez. Now, in terms of this whole disinformation campaign the Chinese Communist Party is launching internally, how effective is it for the Chinese people? Because I know we've seen different videos. It seems a lot of people in China are very angry at the CCP right now, especially in Wuhan. I mean, do they see through the CCP now? Do they get it? Or are they being deceived by this propaganda coming out?
Actually, you know, there are people who can get around the internet and see information from the outside. And there are people who can see through CCP, but still there are majority of people, they only get information from CCP. So they believe whatever government say. When the government say this virus originated from US, they believe it. So a lot of people on the internet blame US. But most of those voices are organized. We call it the 50 Cent Army voice.
Yeah, actually, even on the American English Twitter, you see a lot of these people right now.
Yes.
Now, in terms of this, that kind of brings us to the next point, which is this whole, I'd say, ideological battle now happening between Trump and the CCP. Trump's calling it the Chinese virus. Even a lot of American news outlets, especially the more leftist type ones, they're saying that's racist. And the CCP is, of course, saying this came from an American, you know, American troops brought it over in October when they had these military drills. Of course, that's ludicrous. But, you know, that's the CCP trying to write off the blame. But it started this whole thing where talking about the origin of the virus being the Wuhan virus or the Chinese virus, whatever people want to call it. And a lot of these outlets, funny enough, these English American, you know, mainstream news outlets, were calling it the Wuhan virus pretty early on too. But now that's somehow seen as racist. What's your perspective on this?
The reaction from CCP, it's not to defend China, Chinese people, or Wuhan people. I have to say that Wuhan people or people from Hubei province, they are the victims. They are the victims. Right now, if you go to other cities, and the job opening post clearly state, we don't want anyone from Wuhan. We don't want anyone from Hubei, and we don't want people from like Wenzhou. Wenzhou is another city that is heavily infected. So these people are actually greatly discriminated inside China. I heard a story in another city. A girl from Wuhan hid in an apartment, and one day he was talking on the phone in Wuhan dialect with people, and neighbors heard it. And then a group of police came and trying to take her away. She tried to climb through an outside pipe, 30 stories high. She fell and died. And that's how scared Wuhan people are inside China.
And so the real issue you're saying is that that the Chinese Communist Party is trying to paint this whole racist narrative. If you call it the Wuhan virus or the Chinese virus, then you're a racist. Now they know how our political correct culture works. They know how to take advantage of it.
Right.
But you're saying that the Chinese Communist Party itself, internally in China, has been discriminating against people from Wuhan and Hubei province.
Exactly.
And so, in other words, this isn't about discrimination because the CCP is discriminating. Is that right?
Exactly. Well, they want to fight with U.S. They want to fight with U.S. to project a strong image to Chinese people. You see what I mean? They want to show to its own people, you see, we are defending you, and we can fight with U.S. And I don't think China virus, Wuhan virus, or Chinese virus are that accurate. And we should call it the CCP virus because it is the Communist Party that concealed the information for so long and that missed the important time to control the spreading of the virus. It is because of the Communist Party that built this one belt, one road and really made it a very convenient channel to spread the virus. And if you look at the map, whichever area that have close tie with Communist Party get virus first.
That's right. Actually, Italy has very close ties with the Chinese Communist Party, even to the extent that they have Chinese police, actual police from the Chinese Communist Party patrolling Rome, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so a lot of, yeah, it's true, a lot of countries that have been hit the hardest with this are the ones that have the closest ties to China, or the Chinese Communist Party.
So I would call it the CCP virus.
You heard it here. This is not the Chinese virus. This is not the Wuhan virus. This is the CCP virus. But it's true that makes it more that more clearly explains its origin. Who was to blame for this? The Chinese Communist Party and its totalitarian system, and covering up this, the whole development of it to the extent that they were arresting people, warning about it, arresting doctors. Yeah, it makes sense. The CCP is the one to blame for this.
Actually, some Chinese made a joke on the social media, and there is a mysterious virus started in Germany and then spread to Russia, then spread to China. That's communist.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the irony of it, is the CCP virus is kind of like repeating yourself here.
Right. So honestly, Chinese people, Wuhan people, and the Hubei people, they are the victims. And I grew up in Wuhan, and they are compassionate, they are lovely people. One day, if there's no Communist Party, they are the same like us here in America.
Yeah. China freed from communism would be a benefit to the whole world, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dana, I guess just last question, which is, where are things heading with this virus? Now, I mean, a lot of us, we don't. The biggest problem we have is we actually don't know the real scale of the virus. We don't, because the Chinese Communist Party has been keeping the numbers hidden. We don't actually know how many people are infected. We don't know how many people are died. We have no way of measuring the real impact. And as it spreads abroad, we're now getting a sense of how dangerous this virus is. I think Italy is, it's terrible as it is, it's showing us how serious this is.
Well, I would say China is still the most dangerous place. Many people who were released from the hospital or isolation center, they were tested negative, they went back, and then they was tested positive again for the virus. So they still carry the virus. Because the base is so big, I think China is still the most dangerous place. However, the propaganda keeps saying this is the safest place. It attracted a lot of international students. The Chinese student outside China went back to China. So what are we going to do if they come back to other countries, to their school? That's one thing. And concealed information until today make it very dangerous for the world. At least outside China and outside Iran, we know it's transparent. We know the real situation. We know the real situation is like a sunshine. You put it in the sunshine, then we can deal with it. When it's a total black box, we don't know what's going to happen. And this is not the end. Even the Chinese doctors say it's not going away in April, in May, or even in summer.
You think it's good? I've heard some estimates saying it might last till September. Do you think that's accurate?
We don't know what's going to happen, but it's not easily going away, just the way they're handling it right now. Well, if they can open the internet, let everyone help, right? We are living in the same world, and let everyone help. It will be a different situation.
Great. So Dana, I guess just last question. If you hope people take away one thing right now about this virus and understanding what's really happening in China, what do you hope they take away from it?
I think when Wuhan was in the most difficult time, the international media, especially American media, were heavily reporting the political fight inside U.S. I think the public and media have been so obsessed with impeachment and those political fight and not paying attention of what's going on in China. Understanding Communist Party is so critical. It's so critical. And we depend on China for our manufacture. And this is a world that's made very small by internet, by traveling, and by all the convenient so-called modern method. We are living in a very small space now. If we don't pay attention, we might lose everything. We might lose everything. Now it's the health, like national security, every aspect. We depend on each other. So if we don't understand Communist Party and the China situation, we will have more like crisis time.
So Dr. Dana Cheng, again, Senior Editor, China News at the Epoch Times. It's a real pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And so we're going to get Dana on more often to give us updates on what's happening in China and with this virus, the CCP virus.
Okay.
And that said, everyone, so it looks like New York might be getting it a bit iffy, so I might be broadcasting from my home soon, just FYI. It's all right, you get to hang out with me in my living room. That said, though, please remember to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell, you get alerts when new videos are up. We're not going to stop broadcasting. Stay tuned, we'll be back again next week. Thanks again, see you next time.